What's up guys? So today I'm gonna show you guys how to take your footage and make it look more like film. Now what's important here is that my workflow is very easy, and if you have no idea how to color grade, this is probably gonna help you out a ton to make your log footage look more filmic. Now, the best thing about this workflow, and I'm gonna demonstrate, is that it virtually works with any camera system out there. So here you can see I've got a Blackmagic Pixis footage, I have Red Komodo X, Red Raptor. I also have FX3. I have DJI Ronin 4D. So I've got a bunch of different camera systems, and I'm gonna show you that it virtually works with any camera. So very simple, very easy to use. I'm not even gonna use DaVinci Resolve, and I'm not gonna talk about complicated things. So the very first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select this footage. And the reason I like this one here is because we've got skin tones, we have a window here, so we've got highlights, and this area over here is very dark, so we've got shadows. We've got a really great balance. So this is the footage that I'm gonna use to kind of create a preset, and this preset will work with all these cameras, and I'm gonna demonstrate this. So for my input LUT, what most people do is like they convert it to like RE log or like this conversion LUT. I've worked with a colorist, and he's developed this log converter that again works with virtually any camera. And what this does is it doesn't add any contrast. What it does, it just brings that color information back from your log image. We're going to add our contrast using our NLE. And the reason he told me is because when you do this conversion and it adds contrast, you're actually destroying a lot of data. We want to control the contrast more in our NLE, in this case, Premiere Pro, or if you're using Final Cut, whatever, or DaVinci. So from here, after we use that conversion LUT, then we're going to add contrast. Now, I found out that if I just bump this to 100, that's pretty much like the sweet spot. You can go even higher than that, but I find that just cranking it up to 100, it just balances out the image really well. Now from here, I'm gonna go ahead and add the creative LUT. This is, again, more of a stylized LUT that I developed many years ago. I even made a video about it, and yes, I still use it. It's the one and only LUT that I use from a creative standpoint, and that's my Mondo Bytes LUT. I think that it's just a really well-balanced LUT that just gives you a solid starting point. And as you can see, just adding that alone, this footage looks great. Now, some people might say, it looks a little bit warm, maybe there's still too much saturation. Guys, I can't tell you, if that's the way it looks to you, if you wanna desaturate it because it's too saturated, bring down your saturation. Just as an example, I'll go from 100 to 90. And some of you might say, that looks better, and I think it does, but we're not gonna touch saturation right now because again, that's a personal preference. Same thing with color temperature. This was shot so that it evokes a sunrise, so we really want warm tones, but if some people want it to look cooler, just slide it over to the color temperature to cool. So again, it's all personal preference. Now, from here, let's pay attention to our RGB parade because the next thing we wanna do now is really stretch our image, get all that color information, basically get everything balanced out. So one here on the RGB parade, when you look at this, you'll see that I'm about 80. My red channel is 80. I want this to be closer to 90. So I want this to be more like slightly above 90. And the way we're gonna do this is we're gonna grab our curves, and this last line right here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a point, and we're gonna lift this up until it starts to just barely peak over 90. I went too far, like right there. That's okay. It's okay if it goes a little past it. Also, there is obviously a lot more red in this image here, so it's gonna be a little bit higher, and that's okay. Now, what we wanna do now is take our shadow side, so the left furthest point, and we wanna bring this down to where it was before, which was this cross right here. So let's bring it down. In fact, I would even go slightly under, like literally a hair. Maybe I went too much, like there, just slightly under. And that's stretching all that color data. Okay, so you can see like we're getting all that information. And now the other thing, and this is more of a technique that this colorist kind of like taught me, is we wanna take a point right between the last point that we did and this first point. We wanna create it like right in the middle right here. And what we wanna do is we're gonna lift our shadow base. What that means is like right now, if you can see here, it's almost hitting 0. That means 0 is like complete black. You're losing information. So we wanna raise the floor. And in order to do that is we're gonna take, once we created that point, we want to go ahead and just lift this up a hair just so that you can see it's about 5. And what that does is it gives us like this faded film in our shadow areas. So pay attention to this. I'm gonna go ahead and just undo it. So you can see how dark and like crunchy it looks. And then I'm gonna go ahead and redo that so that you can see how it just has this like faded film. So we're raising that floor and it just looks better, okay? Now, looking at this right now, as it stands, it's not bad. It actually looks pretty damn good. Like, I wouldn't be upset with this, but it still doesn't look filmic. There's like something missing, right? So there's a lot of film emulation software out there. I've kind of tried them all, and the one that I always go back to is Film Convert. So I'm gonna go ahead and just drop Film Convert here. And as you can see, as soon as I drop it, oh my gosh, like automatically it makes a massive difference. Like this just looks fire already right out of the box. And that's because it's emulating film. Now, when you set this or you drop this Film Convert plugin, it's going to automatically add a film stock. Now, the default one is Kodak 5207, which personally, it's probably my favorite one. Kodak 5207 was designed more for outdoors, and I know we're doing this indoors, but it just looks good. But you can change the film stock. Again, color grading is a personal preference. So maybe I want Fujifilm. This is a Fujifilm stock, so that still looks good, you know? So there's a bunch of different ones. I'm not gonna go through every single one of them. There's even like black and white. There's just a bunch of several different film stocks that you can select. Again, I like 5207. Personally, it's just a film stock that I really, really enjoy. Now from here, this is something that you can do. You don't have to necessarily do, but you can select the camera that you're using. So if you go to choose camera and I choose Blackmagic, and then they don't have Pixis. And this is why I stopped using this, is because there's a bunch of cameras that like Red Komodo X and that I use that are not in here. So I just find that the default settings just looks really good. So I don't even mess with the camera, but you can if you want to. Again, it's just optional. Then from here, you can adjust the exposure. Now, personally, I don't know what Film Convert is doing, and I'm gonna demonstrate this, but however they're handling exposure is almost like if the footage is raw. And it's crazy because this works like on FX3, it works on everything. Look, so let me give you an example. Like if I was to adjust my exposure in Premiere, it does it very linear. So watch, let's say I want, you know, it's a little dark. Let me adjust the exposure. You can see even when I start going to like 0.6, 0.7, look at all, I mean, a lot of this is also grain from the film stock, but it starts to look very muddy. In fact, I'll go straight to 1 and it just doesn't look good. Like it just, I don't know, just very linear. The way it does it, Premiere, is actually very terrible. That's why it's not, a lot of people don't like using Premiere to color grade. But using Film Convert, when I bump the exposure, even if I go up to like 1, I'm exaggerating here, it's almost like if I'm adjusting the ISO value of the camera. And look at that, even if I go almost to 1, it just looks really, really good. Now, I don't wanna quite go to 1, probably go to like maybe like 46, that looks pretty good, maybe half, 50, that looks pretty good. I like that, I dig it. But again, I would adjust the exposure here. I would also adjust the temperature here because the way Premiere does it with color temperature, it just makes everything like blue, or if you're going cool, it goes blue, or very warm, where this just makes it I don't know what it is. I don't know what kind of voodoo they're doing, but it just works good. Now we keep going down. I'm not gonna go through the whole Film Convert plugin, but if you go down here, you can adjust the saturation, the film chroma, the film luma, the size of the grain. You can really deep dive. Honestly, I literally just drop it, and I sometimes mess with the grain strength and saturation a little bit. Even the size, like I kind of just leave it alone at 4, but if you want more thicker grain, you can adjust that. But yeah, I just kind of basically leave this alone. Now, once I'm done with this, I'm just gonna collapse this, and what I'm gonna do is I'm going to just create, I'm gonna select this, my first one, and I'm gonna create a preset. I'm gonna call this Film Look. I may already have one in there that is called Film Look, okay? Now watch this. I've created this preset, so now I'm just gonna search for Film Look, which is right here, and I'm just gonna drop this here, okay? Boom. I just dropped it and it already looks good. In fact, I'm gonna go ahead and just play this really quickly so you can see. Now I'm also screen recording, so it might be a little laggy, but look at that. Oh my gosh. Between the A cam and the B cam, which is a close-up, it cut perfectly fine. Now, a lot of people are gonna say, Armando, you professionally lit this. This was perfect. Of course it's gonna look good. Okay, let's go outside. This is all natural lighting. So I'll take this, grab my film look preset that I just created, drop this in here. Let me go ahead and hit play. And then, oh my gosh, this looks amazing. It's a fight sequence. Again, no special lights here that we use. So I'm just gonna, again, just drop this. Let me just get it in a pretty good, decent frame here. Drop my film look, boom. And then this looks really, really good. Now, looking at this image, I'm like, you know what? It needs a little bit more contrast. So again, these are the small little tweaks that you can just add after you drop that preset. So I'm gonna just bump the contrast to 150, boom. Oh my gosh, just look at that. Just by doing the contrast to 150, I'm just gonna go ahead and play that. It looks so freaking good. Next scene, he gets dropped, boom. Okay, now let me go ahead and just drop this in here. Now you look at this, it looks great, but some people might say, oh my gosh, the saturation, it's too aggressive. Okay, then just drop the saturation. So I'm gonna go here and just drop it to 90. And now, look at that, look how that looks. It looks so freaking good. So once again, it just so easy. This preset is going to save you a lot of time. So once again, film look, drop it in here and drop the saturation to 90. Let's play this from the beginning here. Look at that. Boom, he falls down. Great colors, filmed outside, no lighting. The only light that you see here is all sunlit. Perfect. Okay, what do we have next? Here's a completely different scene. Again, naturally lit. I'm gonna go ahead and just drop that film look. And then from here, it looks a bit too teal. There's too much teal in it, and that's the Mondo Bites light. It obviously has the right amount of teal and orange, but it looks a little bit too teal, and also it looks too cool. So what I would do is I would just go to my film convert. Remember I told you, do it here as opposed to doing it in Premiere Pro. So just grab my temperature slider and slide it and warm up the image to whatever your desire is. And oh, you know what? It needs a little bit more contrast. Let me go 125. I don't want to go too aggressive. And look at this. Now, it looks so good. Oh, you know what? Saturation's a little bit too much. Let me go 90. Again, let's replay that image. Boom. So freaking good. Now, let's change it up. This is all Pixes. So we're like, okay, Armando, like it works because this was designed for the Pixes. No, it was designed for any camera. Red Komodo X. Drop this in here. Film look. Boom. I don't even think I need to do anything. Just go ahead and play that. This looks amazing. Just right out of the box. Okay? Let's see this one. Again, Red Komodo X. Drop this in here. Boom. Oh my gosh. Once again, this looks amazing. Okay, another one. Film look. Boom. Drop it again. I mean, this looks so good. Now, another sequence. Here's a Porsche shoot that we did. And I'm just gonna go ahead and just drop it on all these 3 layers. Just drop the film look, boom, drop it in there, start this from the beginning. I'll probably warm that up. It looks so good, just right out of the box. Minor tweaking is involved, and look at this. This looks solid. This is Red Raptor X. Boom, drop that in here. Oh my gosh, look at that. Freaking amazing, 8K. Then we have FX3. Here's FX3 footage right here. So boom, drop this in here. Jeez. Again, it looks a little too saturated. FX3, I mean, it's gonna have probably more, the gamma curve is a little bit more saturated to get from the get-go. So I'm gonna just bump that down to 90, and look at that. It just looks so freaking good. Okay, so it looks a little bit dark here. Okay, go to your color wheels, bring up the shadows a little bit, bring up the midtones. Like just, these are those small little tweaks that you can do. And now look at that. You've got more information here that you're able to see. And this is all by look. I have a color calibrated monitor. I don't look at any scopes aside from the initial time that I looked at it just to make sure that I was in that range, but I never ever look at scope. I'm more of a feel type of guy. Like if it looks good to me in my eyes, I'm gonna run with it because most people watching this footage or this movie are probably gonna see it on their iPhone. They're probably gonna see it on their overly saturated Samsung TV or wherever, and it's not gonna look the same. So color grading also doesn't matter because the deliverable at the end of the day is probably gonna get screwed up anyway. So if it looks good to me here, that's all I care about, okay? And whoever I end up showing it. Another FX3 footage, drop that film look, boom, amazing. This looks incredible. Now, I'm gonna show you some other footage, but also other techniques that you can do. But before I do that, I do wanna tell you guys about today's video sponsor, Artlist. Now check this out. I don't know if you're like me that like struggles to get music, and sometimes like I'm trying to find music and then I have to download it, go to the website, and then I have to import it. It just takes a long time. So Artlist has this new plugin for Premiere, and as you can see here, I now have Artlist integrated into Premiere. Now if you download this plugin and you can't find it, all you need to do is go to Window, go to Extensions, and then go to Artlist Library. Now what's cool is like, let's say I wanna find some music for this like beginning intro scene. I want something epic because we have Hunter Grail who's teaching the boy like how to fight. So I want something really epic here. So I'm gonna go ahead and type in epic, and I'm gonna go ahead and hit play. So, okay, that sounds pretty good. Now if I wanna use this clip, I can literally just drag this onto my timeline, and it's right there. It's ready to go, and I can go ahead and play it. So I'll show you, look. Okay, now that takes a little bit of work. There's now something even better. If I don't wanna go through all that steps because I just downloaded the footage, let's say I wanna, sample the Brave ones, but I wanna sample it by looking at my timeline. Down here, there's this thing called Timeline Sync that I can enable. Now, as soon as I hit this, you'll notice, I can actually sample it by not actually downloading it and just watching it in real time, which is freaking fire. Now, if you guys wanna try out this plugin, I'm gonna leave a special link down below where you can get a discount. They always have discounts, so they're always changing, but make sure to use my link to get the best deal out there. Now, let's go ahead and show you this final color grade and kind of other techniques that I wanna show you. So again, FX3 footage, I'm gonna go ahead and just search for my film look, drop this in here. This looks great. Again, maybe it looks a little bit too teal, warm it up, do any small adjustments that you needed. And then here's DJI footage, Ronin 4D, drop that film look. Again, maybe a little bit too teal. Just grab that slider. I'm just gonna crank it to like 73. I know I'm exaggerating. Well, it is sunset, so boom. Look at that. This looks amazing. Now, color grading is more than just slapping on a LUT or a preset and calling it a day. Now, don't get me wrong, this is an amazing starting point, and I literally use this every single time. But there are situations where you're gonna need to really learn how to color grade and really like finesse your image. And I'm gonna show you a couple of examples, really basic examples, if you ever are in a situation like this. So here's the first one. Here's an example of a short film that I was a part of, and I color graded this film. And one thing was, she was severely underlit. So we have our image here. Now, you're gonna say, Armando, just bump up the exposure. I could do that. The problem when I bump up my exposure, it's going to start blowing out the windows and this door window frame here, and also our window light over here, which, you know, some people might say that's okay, and I'm okay with blowing things out, but I wanna keep it more neutral. I like the way it looks here. I just wish that she was properly exposed. Now I can't go back in time and reshoot this, so this is where power windows come into effect. So what I've done here is I created a new layer, and then I called it Kira, that's the name of our actor. And what I've done here is I've created a mask, and you can see the mask. I've motion tracked it. All I did was I grabbed my pen tool and I just quickly did a very dirty mask around her, but I motion tracked it so that as she moves, that color grade stays attached to her. Now, what does a color grade look like? So I'll show you guys. And when I enable it, there it is. All I did was, and I'll show you, is bump up the exposure. Actually, I have to go here to Kira. And then I just look at this. I bumped up the exposure, 0.5. I brought up the shadows a little bit more, and now this is what it looks like. So I'll show you in real time how great that looks. And I'll show you before and after. So that's before, very dark, can't even see her. And then I'll go back and do after. And as you can see, this looks so good. In fact, if you watch the original YouTube video, this is exactly how I color graded. We brought her out, and I didn't affect the overall image. Now, I'll give you another example. Here's one where everything is technically properly exposed, but how do we make this even better? I feel like whenever you film something, like there has to, obviously there's a purpose, but like you want to be intentional with your color grade. So I would say this looks fine, but how do we spice this up? So an example here is we've got this lamp. What color does a lamp, or in this case, this lamp represent? It's got orange. What's a complementary color to orange? You've got like teal or bluish tones, right? So not only that, but this film, I want to have like this dark vibe, right? I want this blue tone here. So what I've done is I have this layer where I called it blue shadows. And as you can see, again, I've motion tracked this to follow the path. Now I'll show you when I enable it, what that looks like. We've got this nice blue color here. By the way, and this is another reason why I don't like to use like LED lights, and you hear things like fix it in post, because I could have added a blue LED light here, but what if I don't want that blue LED light anymore and I want it to change the color? I'm a fan of doing it in post. So as you can see, I've got this blue light. It looks amazing. I love this. Now, how do we boost the lamp? Very similar, same thing. I've got the lamp here and I've added my mask, again, motion track. So as the frame moves around, it keeps the colors within that frame or within that mask. And now when I enable it, let me go ahead and enable the lamp. You can see here, before, after, that lamp just pops. What did I do? So if I select my lamp layer, all I did was boost my temperature to 25, and that's basically it. If I want it even warmer, I'm gonna exaggerate here, guys. Obviously that looks terrible, but right about 18, 20, 22% looks good. Again, let me disable it, enable it, and now I'll show you what all that looks like. And it looks really good. How we started before and then where we're at. Now, I would even say, I don't even want to call this done. There's still work to be done. Like maybe I want to make this darker back here, or maybe I want to make, this can over here pop. Color grading is taking your image and selecting the objects, what's in frame, the person, and really finessing it so that you get the look that you want. So anyway, I thought this would just be like a really simple video, but I've already been talking for over 20 minutes now. And I just wanted to give you guys a really great starting point, but then from there, taking it up to a whole different level. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. My name is Armando. Thanks again for watching, and you will catch me in the next one. Adios.